So quickly is showing us how to be more aware of our energy consumption so that we can be smarter consumers and conserve energy. Our next company, Argus Labs, is really about becoming a smart mobile advisor. To see what they are up to, I encourage you to give a hearty welcome to Argus Labs.
Hi, my name is Filip Maertens. I'm the founder of Argus Labs. We're a Belgian-based startup with a team of 9 developers, mathematicians and mobile experts, and are passionate about smartphones, sensor fusions, and big data. Following a period of fundamental research, it wasn't actually until this summer that we actually started developing the application. So today we're quite excited because this will be the first time that we give you a look into the alpha version that we've built. It might seem as a paradox actually that currently today social networks and search engines have been as omnipresent as ever in our history, yet it has been increasingly difficult for mobile users to find relevant information. And actually we found that this problem has some root causes, being humans produce enormous amounts of content, and there is little context out there to make systems truly accurate and useful. Once patterns are identified, excuse me, I see that this clicker thing is going haywire. Yep. Once patterns are identified, they are hardly ever changed. And this is not at all how life is being reflected. For example, I used to like AC/DC, but now I like DJ's Shadow. So this doesn't actually reflect real life. It is also in our human nature actually to produce biased and actually low quality results. Who of you in the room have clicked on like today without you even liking what you clicked? That's exactly my point. The last one is actually that recommendations and ad systems around us are built to return as many results as possible, resulting in irrelevancy and often actually also annoyance of the user. In short, mobile users don't have the tools to get personalized recommendations where they need it most, while brands actually struggle to get their message across. So we made it our mission to make a personal assistant, again, sorry about this, a personal assistant and transform your smartphone actually into a smart assistant. Genie makes sense. She learns who you are so she can help you discover and give personalized ideas and inspiration, but also anticipate what you want. We wanted it actually to feel as if you were having a sixth sense without requiring the user to enter heaps of data. But first we had to solve some complex mathematical and sensor issues before we could actually start developing, and that took us 1 year and a half, giving us a lead time onto our direct competitors, but also resulted in patented findings. So the technology that we've built is able to pervasively contextualize the user, its environment, and its behavior. Our secret sauce is to mine social data and analyze sensor data from your smartphone, but also from connected devices like an app, like a Fitbit, like many out there. And we do this to continue to contextualize who you are and better understand your needs, your affinities, and your motivation. But the true magic only happens actually when you see Genie starts making spontaneous suggestions to you at the right moment and at the right conditions, and always useful. And that's we find quite cool. But we can go on for hours discussing the technology behind Genie. I'd love to do this after this talk, but let's go over some of the demo that we have made for you today. So the first screen, and I would like to have the camera. Okay, the other camera. That is, can we have the camera please projected on the smartphone? The other camera.
This one.
Okay. We need to have this camera. I'm so sorry about the problems. It's so what do we do now?
There we are.
Okay. So we prepared the demonstration. This is actually just a user from the office that we took. The first thing you see is actually when you open Genie is the main conversation screen or the dashboard. In this dashboard, you're actually able to talk to Genie and see what observations and Genie has for you. This is all brought to the user spontaneously. This is not something you need to ask for. It's based as a card system, as we want to try as familiar with the Android feel as possible. In this case, Genie notices that Stephanie is nearby. I don't know if you can see it quite well on the screen, but I've seen Stephanie back in Belgium, but actually ever since we didn't meet up yet. I could send Genie to send her a message or give her a call, but since I'm standing here, I'm just going to swipe away the card and archive it. And this is the second part of the application you'll most likely spend a lot of time in, being the journal. And you can consider this item or this functionality to be like a diary that writes itself. And here you can see some of my past couple of days look like. In my case, for example, you can see me, going home. An important thing here is that all the information you see is not required for the user to be explicitly shared to the system. This is sensed, right? So stationaries, places are sensed. Also, what means of transportation you're using, walking, biking, car, for example. But let's go back to the dashboard. In the dashboard, Genie observes as well that I've slept 5 hours. And this allows me to gain further insights when I tap it. I clearly see in the middle of the night there's a spike. There appears to be a spike in my light and volume. I've been known to sleep through nuclear explosions, so this doesn't give me any information that's interesting for me, but this might indicate why other people might get out of bed unrested, for example. These were just some samples to show you how Genie presents you the observation that she makes. But so let's look at how you can interact with her. In this case, there's a proposition for a band. I click on it, but I can also ask questions to Genie voice controlled, but also use the dynamically pre-generated questions to keep your privacy as well. In our case, let's ask how many times I've listened to this band. And this is asking the information from the service. Here it shows you an infogram of how many times I listened to that band. But there are also other options how to interact with the Genie. For example, I'd like to know where my colleague Steven is right now. And when looking at it, he's at the office. While this may sound privacy invading, it's not necessarily to be. Let's ask also who is otherwise at the office. So Genie understands the context in which we're discussing. Anyway, this may sound privacy invading, but users can set their privacy settings. So for example, let me ask you, where's my wife? And indeed, the relationship is built on trust. This is another typical example of how Genie makes my life a bit simpler. This is an example how Genie uses the Runkeeper data to proactively give me a route I can go jogging today, or actually tonight. If I would have needed to search this myself out on the internet, this would have taken me a couple of hours. But now Genie has proposed me this proactively.
So proactively, I'm going to ask you to join us over here with a Q&A.
Yep.
And I'm sure that those bits that you might not have been able to include, our judges will ask you about. But I'll give you this. And why don't you step up into the light and let the inquisition begin.
I love services like this, but I think the challenge is always finding that right noise-to-signal ratio. So I'm curious, one, how proactive are you in alerting certain types of information? And two, what's your plan to make sure, because once you get past that point and you break that sort of, whatever that threshold is for me or for whoever, I'm deleting the app or I'm not going to use it. So you have to be really smart at how you learn and how you...
So actually, we've made of course, we're talking probability. So we've made a probability system. Each time that we see that a probability is too low, we choose not to show you or propose you some information. If the probability, we continue to work on increasing the probability to make really sure that you get the information that you want at the time that you want, because the biggest threat that for a system as we've built is, indeed, that you get information at the right moment, or information that's completely irrelevant, and then you will no longer use the app. So that's why we made a model that actually filters low probabilities or near misses from our system. If the system then, because it is a system, would make an error and send you some information, at least it will be relevant. The timing might be a bit off, but then you can say to Genie, well, don't show me this again at this time, or show it me a little bit later, so we can feedback this back into the system to increase the probability that next time you will get a decent proposition.
Tony.
So I have a question about why you're applying it kind of in the consumer space versus like the health space. Or I've seen a lot of sensor technologies being integrated into health-oriented apps, and I think that's really cool. It's life-changing, it's very meaningful, timing is very important. I'm not sure I followed your examples or I bought into any of your examples. Could you give us one really compelling reason why I would use this? What one cool thing would it do for me? The coolest thing you think it could do for me?
The coolest thing actually is when Genie knows you well enough, she can start proposing you, for example, to turn off the lights at home. This is one example that we made with an Arduino board. We actually hooked up a home automation system. Each time Genie sees that someone left my house, because my spouse is also a Genie user, she alerts me, said, well, she left your house, but the light's still on. They want to shut down the lights, for example. This is one example that I personally think it's cool because it makes me think of how a tricorder from Star Trek used to work, or how a Jarvis works. But on the other hand, actually what we're building is an SDK and an API. And we're opening this to developers worldwide as of beginning next year, because I don't think that we're the only all-knowing people on Earth. I think we'd rather share this with the community, so other people, but also companies and advertising agencies can start using this to make behavioral and intention-based applications.
And will you charge for that?
Yes, we do charge. Yes, we do charge for this. It's a volume-based pricing.
Great. Filip?
I think my question is going to echo the previous question, which is, if you're Apple and you develop Siri, you can embed that on all the iPhones that are going to be sold. And then you can figure out how users are going to use it.
Yeah.
When you're an independent application trying to do the same on Android, you're not going to be embedded into all the Androids. You need a key reason why people will download it. And I agree, looking at the demo, it's not clear to me what is going to be the trigger that's going to make people say, gosh, I need to download this now. And then use it and discover that they can do many things with it, because it feels like a platform, but what is the killer, the driver for the download?
Well, actually, it's the comparison with the Siri or Google Now is very accurate. I mean, we get that a lot. But the reason or why or how we differ actually from a reactive system as a Siri, for example, is that we also proactively give you information at times that Genie thinks is the right fit. Indeed, in terms of you getting user traction, when that's a question you're referring to, we're currently talking as well with some manufacturers to see if this could be a strategic application for them. But I think that we should look at Genie as a demo app, how our system, our API and SDK actually can deliver behavioral and intention-based services to other app builders, actually. And so far, we've gotten a lot of interest from advertising agencies that want to use the components like sentiment analysis, context analysis, and building them into their apps. And this is definitely the way actually we are monetizing, or we hope to monetize our application as of 2013 through the API and SDK.
Great. Well, Filip, I think that's all the time we have for questions at this point, but thank you very much for your explanation, your demo, and we look forward to seeing you in the pavilion. Thank you very much.